There's been a corner there that has been making noise. Our organization thrives on discipline. And not just discipline, maximum discipline. Let me take this opportunity to thank the Deputy President for the introduction, but equally join him in acknowledging the international leadership of our movement from Liberia, from Namibia, the President of Podemo. I've seen him here. Our families are also here. I know my Shibambo family came out in their numbers. The Malema family came out in their numbers. And our senior counsels, I've seen all of them here. The lawyers that are always with us because we're always in a permanent trouble. And we also want to thank Ntate Maja. You know, I do things differently. So, because I don't know my father, I get people when they don't have kids, they adopt kids. So I don't have a father, I adopted a father. It's the other way around. So I adopted Ntate Maja to be my father. So he's here with us. He just joined us from a very beautiful holiday with his beautiful wife, Maldives. You never took your father to a spaza shop. I took mine to Maldives. So it's very important that we always spoil our parents when the time permits. Let me also acknowledge our national chairperson who was referred to earlier on here by the chairperson of Gauteng as a national spokesperson. He's not a national spokesperson. He's our national chairperson. Secretary General with your beautiful wife. Deputy Secretary General, the Treasurer General. I saluted our Deputy President who came here with his beautiful daughter, Katekani, who has grown so much to accompany his father to these important occasions. I also welcome members of the Central Command team who are here and members of the War Council who made it to this important occasion. Let me send my special greetings to General Holomisa, the President of the United Democratic Movement, who made his time to come here. Please rise, General, so they can see that you are here, because the Deputy President and the DSG have given this item of introduction of guests to me. We also want to greet all of you, the captains of the industry, the legal fraternity. I've seen our former national chairperson is here, our former advocate Dalimpofu, our former Secretary General is here, ambitious advocate Godrich Gadi, and I've seen our DSG, Klengwe Mkalipi, is here. If I'm not wrong, TG, I saw the former TG in your company. She's also here. So all the former officials of the EFF, the first officials of the EFF, and the current ones are here to mark this important milestone. Also, we want to send the special, really, gratitude to all those who bought the tables. Because there was a story when the TG issued the first advert that was selling table and Malema's table is selling for 1.2. In a sarcastic way, the media of South Africa said, who will buy a table to sit with Malema? For those who've got an ear and access to them, tell them that Malema's table was sold 3 times more than what we had expected as the leadership of the EFF. This has confirmed to me and to the colleagues that we are having some brave and emerging black business people who are not scared of the establishment, who are challenging the establishment and saying no one is going to dictate to us as to how we spend our resources. I send my greetings to all of you, the guests, and our support staff, and all ladies and gentlemen who have gathered here today. We extend our greetings to the leadership of the EFF here in Gauteng province, led by Commissar Anikuruleni MMC of Finance, Nkululeko Dunga. The Deputy President explained that we are government here where we are in Ekurhuleni, and we did not choose this venue coincidentally. We chose it because that's where we govern. So in the language of the liberation, this is a liberated zone in South Africa. The leadership of all provinces have seen on video my chairperson, the only female chairperson from Limpopo, and all the regions of the EFF who have made it here. Economic freedom fighters, members of parliament, provincial legislatures, and municipal councils and members of mayoral committees deployed in the city of Ekurhuleni, eThekwini, Nelson Mandela, Mohali City, and Western District Municipality. Those are some of the liberated zones where the EFF governs, and governs in a manner that has got impact in the lives of our people. I've seen a senior council, Mukai Tobi, and Lawrence Hodes is also here. To our distinguished members of business community and our valued stakeholders who have joined us tonight, we extend our heartfelt greetings and welcome you all to this occasion. We support, your support over the years is an essential part of our journey. We also take this opportunity to express our profound gratitude for your important contribution to the EFF. Your support in promoting multi-party democracy has been critical to our growth and success over the past 10 years. Commissars, fighters, and friends, today is no ordinary day, and this is no ordinary Galadinner. We gather here to mark the 10th anniversary of the economic freedom fighters as we reflect on a decade of unbroken struggle, resilience, and unwavering commitment to economic freedom. Let us not only celebrate how far we have come, but also look ahead to the journey that still awaits us. We often say we have an appointment with the future. Many people do not understand what we mean when we say this, but every day our action makes its meaning clearer. This is not just a phrase, it is our promise to keep moving forward to economic freedom. This appointment is more than a simple meeting with the future. It is our firm commitment that must guide us in everything we do. The appointment we have with the future has been directing us through every achievement we have celebrated today, despite all subjective and objective challenges we have confronted in our fight for economic freedom. To not arrive at this appointment will be more than a missed opportunity. It will mean betraying a generational mission, a mission we have committed to in order to achieve economic freedom in our lifetime. We will not let that happen. We must and we will honor this appointment because it is more than a date on a calendar. It is a promise to our generation and the ones to follow. It has been a journey of unbroken struggle, and we felt it was important to invite those in the business community and key stakeholders to engage the leadership of the EFF, reflect and plan for the future. We formed the EFF when the world was still trying to recover from the aftermath of the 2008 global financial crisis. Comrades, our organization today celebrates many achievements, and it is really very proud to have hosted the families of those who had died, in particular, the widows of those who died in Marikana. They are here with us today because they are the most important people in our life. We derive our existence from Marikana. Seated here, it's a man called Adriano Mazzotti, and more said. I'll ask them to stand up, because these are the two and part of their partners who have given us money on the day we launching the EFF. When the IEC asked us to pay for money, me and Floyd had nothing. We looked at each other in the eyes and said, what is going to happen? At that time, they asked for 650,000, and we had no means, none whatsoever. Later to be told through a telephone call, Mazzotti has got a very unique voice. Brother, the money is paid. Then we knew that we were good to go. That is how the EFF was allowed to contest the first election in 2014. We are very proud of Adriano Mazzotti and are not ashamed to associate with him. We don't know his business because he's not our business partner. He donated money to the EFF like all of you who bought tables here. We never asked you, what do you do for your business? We just declared. We declared because it was not a secret that the money was donated by Adriano Mazzotti. So we do not run an underworld, we are running an above world. And do not be scared that we are part of anything Mazzotti does. Mazzotti has never been arrested. Neither has Mazzotti ever been charged. I've been charged. I've been arrested. I've seen the door of prison for my political beliefs. My properties were taken by SARS. I was thrown to the streets. But that has never happened to Mazzotti, to be characterized as a criminal by those who hold a view that he should not have given the EFF money to register with the IEC. He is hated more for having made it possible for this organization to exist and give trouble to the establishment and white monopoly capital, which is just at the door of it, by the way. Once he jumps into that door and become a white monopoly capital, he will see the might of the EFF himself. The world was experiencing a persistent conflict between labor and capital when the EFF was formed. Here in South Africa, the struggle was highlighted by the workers' strike in the platinum belt of Marikana in Rustenburg. When mine workers demanded 12,500 minimum living wage, the ANC-led government responded with violence and killed them, resulting in 34 mine workers losing their lives at the hands of the South African police services. This event left an unforgettable mark on our collective consciousness. Marikana is a symbolic in so many ways. Just yesterday, we held a birthday celebration at Marikana Kopi to remind ourselves of the reason behind the formation of the EFF. Marikana represents not just the struggle between workers and multinational company, London Mine, but also the struggle between emerging black-owned business and established white-owned business. Marikana reflected the painful reality that those who control and benefit from our mineral resources, financial sector, agriculture, and what remains of manufacturing are the very same individuals who profited from colonial and apartheid laws and government. There is something about Marikana that many in business community may not have recognized or understood. Marikana also served as a reminder of the escalating inequality we continue to witness in the post-apartheid South Africa. This path has led South Africa into conflict with itself, a war that will not have any winners, but will leave us all as losers unless we come together as political parties, business and key stakeholders, strengthen our multi-party democracy, and support all initiatives that will promote participation in the election system like Mazzotti did. We survived this difficult moment because we were surrounded by pastors who surround us here today. Pastor Slolo, Pastor Koma, and Pastor Sephora, and many others came closer to us when it was not fashionable to do so. They kept praying for us when they saw us, and even on the phones, kept on sending us messages to tell us that we are in their prayers and we must continue the good fight. The EFF was formed around the same time when multiple studies had begun to label South Africa as one of the world's most unequal societies, where 10% of the population owns more than 80% of the wealth, with the color of one's skin serving as a significant determinant of which side of these numbers one found themselves on. More than 50% of the population is considered to be living in poverty, while 18.2 million people live in extreme poverty. Even the World Bank, which has often been protective of South Africa's mismanagement of economic policy, has now come out to confirm that indeed South Africa is the most unequal society in the world. This is a country that has the world's largest resources of platinum group metals, a country that has the capacity to produce 100% of cement and building material locally and can manufacture 80% of the steel the country needs from locally mined iron ore, chrome and manganese. From the beginning, our failure as a nation to transfer wealth from the few minority whites to the majority of our people through meaningful participation in the economy has been influenced by patterns of land ownership. This was confirmed by the first land audit published in 2013, which revealed that 79% of land was privately owned and 14% was state-owned. A second audit in 2017 further confirmed that whites owned 72% of farms and agricultural holdings by individuals, landowners, while Africans own a mere 4% of productive land. As we celebrate the EFF's 10th anniversary, it is important to appreciate that the material conditions have not improved for our people and many of the emerging businesses, and this is reflected in the numbers. When we formed the EFF in July 2013, South Africa's economy was experiencing a growth of 2.5%. In the past 10 years, our economy has continued to regress without any concrete or believable response by the government. Between the years 2019 and 2022, South Africa's GDP only grew by 0.3%. In 2013, more than 7.7 million people were unemployed. The unemployment rate was at 35.6%. Today, 11.9 million people are unemployed. The unemployment rate today is 42.4%. What is more concerning is the fact that for the first time in the post-apartheid South Africa, more than 50% of people who could be at institutions of higher learning, training or employment are sitting at home doing nothing. In 2013, the inflation rate stood at 5.7%. However, as of the end of 2022, the inflation rate was recorded at 6.9%. The lending interest rate was a little over 8% in 2013. Today, the figures has increased to 11.75%. Many of the working class families and small businesses already under pressure will lose their homes and livelihoods. Government finances have deteriorated even further than they were when we formed the EFF in 2013. And this demonstrates the mismanagement of economic policy. While we speak of numbers, those of you in the business community have experienced this firsthand. In 2013, the debt service costs were recorded at 88.3 billion, constituting 2.8% of the GDP. Today, the figures has increased almost fourfold to over 340 billion a year. Today, we spend more on servicing our loans as a country than we do on basic education, and we spend more on servicing our loans than we do on health. Our nation's overall gross loan debt has increased from 1.4 trillion, which represented 38.6% of the GDP in 2013, to 4.3 trillion, accounting for 73.6% of our GDP. These figures are not only a reflection of the worsening state of the economy or public finances, but it is also a clear indication that the much celebrated National Treasury is not celebrated for managing our finances properly. The National Treasury is celebrated for insisting on neoliberal policies, even when there is empirical evidence that these policies are doing more damage than good, particularly for businesses. We must take a closer look at the role of the National Treasury in the collapse of our economy and public finances. We are not surprised by reports that the same department has the highest number of unqualified senior managers. The challenge we face as a country is not only the collapse of the economy and our public finances. There is a deliberate collapse of the strategic state-owned companies that should be at the forefront of South Africa's reindustrialization and development. Also, it is the very same SOEs that must create downstream opportunities in logistics, energy generation, manufacturing, and other key sectors for business. Take a look at Dinel, for example. For the past 3 years, the company has struggled to pay salaries for its roughly 2,800 employees. Employees were forced to go to court to get their salaries. Even when Parliament approved an additional 3 billion in 2022, we were told that none of the new allocation can be used to pay workers' salaries. Instead, banks and loans were prioritized over workers who were losing their homes and were struggling to feed their families. When we formed the EFF in 2013, Dinel was making 70 million profit and their revenue were close to 3.9 billion a year. All 4,200 employees were paid and were paid on time. Today, the staff is gone and revenue halved to 1.9 billion. In 2013, Transnet, I'm told Gama was supposed to, I hope he's here. Transnet used to make profit under Gama, who has joined us here today. Transnet was making 4.3 billion profit and had 50 billion in revenue. The company managed to remain profitable due to high port and pipeline volumes. There have been attempts to sabotage Transnet in order to justify privatizing the company. Today, we are informed that Transnet infrastructure, such as ports, is being privatized without any consideration for how this will affect small and emerging businesses. And I said to Gama, because he did good for our people when he was a CEO there, I never got anything. Floyd never got anything. So when I say I must know, I also refer to Floyd. We are one thing. So I get, he gets. If I don't get, he doesn't get. So we never got anything, nothing. But I said to him, because he was a good man who did good for our own state-owned company, and he was victimized for being black and African in particular. I've said to him many times, if you need support of the EFF in terms of legal representatives, we are here to give you the best lawyers and will pay for them because you were a good servant of our people. And all those who came after you destroyed what used to be a pride of our nation. I hope Ngugai Toby or Advocate Rhodes know that a case that they will do for free is coming their way. Eskom is the lifeblood of our economy. Without electricity, we don't have an economy. Job creation is stifled, and for many people, putting food on the table becomes challenging. The Township Entrepreneurs Alliance conducted a survey earlier this year. It revealed that during load shedding periods, 64% of township small businesses ceased operations. Over 66% of businesses owners reported retrenching workers due to load shedding. NERSA increases electricity prices and attributes the rise to load shedding. The South African Reserve Bank increases interest rates, blaming load shedding. Stats SA reports that more than 11 million people are unemployed, attributing it to load shedding. Food prices surge and it's blamed on food security. In the midst of this crisis, there are people who are hell-bent on privatization of electricity generation for the sake of profits that will benefit only a few interested in quick profit. The premature closure of the Komati power station was not just misguided. It's the epitome of the industrial scale looting that is happening before us. This is the real state capture we are seeing today. If the Guptas did a state capture, they were playing. What we are experiencing today with Eskom makes Guptas look like a joke. Today, more than 300 people in communities near Camden Grootvlei and Hendrina, who were promised training as part of the so-called just transition when the Komati power station was shut down, are still waiting, stranded, unemployed, and without income. But the collapse of the economy, public finance, and state-owned enterprises is just a symptom of a far broader systematic problem, corruption. When we formed the EFF, we correctly characterized South Africa as a kleptocracy. Every day we witness government leaders openly looting state resources, pursuing self-enrichment without shame, while the people of Hammanskraal lack access to clean water and drinkable water. The people of Spruitview in Mooiplaas live in a dump site. The residents of Stweta in Alexander are packed together like rats, and children in the Eastern Cape continue to use pit toilets, yet your state president goes and unveils Mandela's statue. Those close to political leaders will continue to grow richer and more corrupt because they know that their proximity to these leaders grants them immunity from prosecution. When we write questions in Parliament to probe questionable contracts and tenders, we are confronted with talk of confidentiality and classified reports. The victims of corruption are not only the poor. The business suffers the same fate when you institutionalize corruption and protect those in office from investigation and prosecution. Those with talent, hard work, entrepreneurial spirit will be overlooked. This is how you stifle innovation, hard work, growth, and societal progress. What is even more concerning is the fact that you can face prosecution for being seen with the leadership of the EFF, for refusing to support certain ANC leaders, or for choosing to speak out against corruption. You can be arrested for reporting corruption and have the one who is corrupt promoted to the highest office in the land. We have a personal experience of persecution that are motivated by political vendettas and agendas. We are not speaking about things we know nothing of. We are aware of many young business people who have suffered the same fate and continue to suffer. This is the background against which we formed the EFF. To fully appreciate the journey we have traveled thus far, we encourage those who have not had a chance to read our founding manifesto to do so. It will give you a broader appreciation of what you have contributed to and continue to support. We do not only characterize the current political and economic condition of South Africa, we go even further. We offer concrete and practical solutions to many of the challenges facing South Africa. We understand that some in the business community might overlook the solutions the EFF proposes under the assumption that they will not benefit. However, a closer look will reveal that while we have unapologetically placed the working class, the poor, and the marginalized as the primary and immediate beneficiaries of our struggle for economic freedom, our strategic mission is to create a system that will guarantee meaningful economic participation for all, including the business community. Take, for example, our cardinal pillar number 1, land expropriation without compensation for equal redistribution in use. We maintain that all the land should be transferred to the ownership and custodianship of the state. Despite all the mischaracterizations and attempts to demonize this demand of many black Africans, this remains a bold move towards restorative justice and a path towards transferring wealth to the majority of the people. Many critics claim this will not work, that it will hurt business and South Africa will descend into chaos. But we disagree, and here it's why. First of all, there is not the first time South Africa transferred strategic natural resources into the custodianship of the state in an attempt to address the colonial and apartheid imbalances. We have successfully transferred mineral and petroleum resources into the custody of the state in 2002. Today, you need a license to prospect and mine any mineral resources. Even with the license, the minerals still belong to the state on behalf of the people of South Africa. The same applies to water. All water is subject to the state control. None of you here has ever woken up one day and said, because the water is owned by the state, I feel like a less owner of my water that comes out of my tap. Yet you are not the owner of the water. The water is state-owned. You have never felt like the water coming through your tap is brought to you by someone else. You always felt that it is your water. Even when your children play with it, you always say to them, do not play with my water. You never said to them, do not play with the state water, because you know you are the state. We are said that the state custodianship of the land under democratic and effective state will give businesses a predictable business environment. Our policy is that business will get land use licenses for 25 years, which can be renewed if the land is used as planned. This is not only about history deciding who gets what, where the beneficiaries of colonialism and apartheid will continue to benefit. We must address historical imbalances, support innovation, value creation, and entrepreneurial spirit. What many people don't know is that many multinational corporations are not interested in owning land. They will prefer a situation where they lease land in special economic zones with secured land tenure to operate their business. No one owns land in Atlantis Special Economic Zone. No one owns land in Komazi Special Economic Zone, Richards Bay Industrial Zone, East London Industrial Zone, Dubai Trade Port, and other special economic zones. Those are multinational companies that have invested billions on that part of the land, yet they do not own the land. Business does not need to own the land. It needs a guarantee of a land tenure. And that's what business should be obsessed with, not to be obsessed with I own this or that. As long as you are guaranteed that your investment will come back and government will protect your occupation of that land, it's enough. Companies set up operations in these special economic zones because they have land tenure security. They get access to preferential 15% corporate income tax. They qualify for tax relief, building allowance, and many other businesses benefits. We'll soon introduce this in the Ekurhuleni municipality where we own. If you pay closer attention to the details, the EFF land policy assures a supply to the private sector and businesses. Consider agriculture, for example. Small-scale farmers will receive meaningful state subsidies, support, and protection. This is the only way we can rebuild the agricultural sector